It was a simple 1981 Lincoln penny, the kind you've probably held hundreds of times in your life. No mint mark. Just a regular-looking copper coin that changed one man's life forever. It all started in the early 1980s, a time when America was shifting. Inflation was high, copper prices were climbing, and the U.S. Mint was struggling to keep costs under control. Every single penny mattered, literally. But buried inside that chaotic production year, something unexpected happened. Somewhere between the Philadelphia Mint's massive presses and the quality control lines, a tiny, almost invisible minting mistake slipped through. A coin was struck just a little too perfectly, or imperfectly, depending on how you look at it. And this small error would one day transform an ordinary cent into $1 million masterpiece. At first glance, the 1981 no-mint mark penny doesn't look special. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, the words, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1981. Nothing strange, right? But look closer. The details on some of these coins tell a very different story. Collectors discovered that a small number of 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies were struck using the wrong die, a die originally intended for proof coins. These dies had sharper details, mirror-like surfaces, and a precision far beyond regular circulation coins. The result? A handful of 1981 pennies that looked almost too perfect, coins that somehow escaped the Mint's strict proof production controls and made their way into the hands of ordinary Americans. But the story doesn't stop there. One collector from Ohio claims he found his 1981 penny mixed in with loose change from a gas station. He noticed something odd. The coin's surface shimmered differently, as if it had been dipped in glass. When he brought it to a local coin show, dealers gathered around, whispering. One man gasped. The coin was flawless. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Within weeks, word spread. A 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the same kind millions of people spent without a second thought, sold at auction for over $1.4 million. The reason? Its minting anomaly and near-perfect condition made it one of the rarest modern cents ever discovered. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were scrambling through their change jars, searching for that same glimmer of perfection. What made this penny different was not just its rarity, but its timing. You see, 1982 was the year the U.S. Mint changed the penny's composition from solid copper to zinc-coated copper. That means the 1981 penny represents the end of an era, the last full year of the heavy, pure copper cents. And that historical transition made it even more desirable. But this particular no-mint mark variety added another twist. It wasn't just copper, it was a production mystery. Experts debated whether these flawless coins were test strikes, experimental runs, or simply accidents that slipped out unnoticed. Whatever the reason, only a handful have ever been confirmed, and each one is worth a fortune. Imagine that. A coin worth a single cent suddenly becoming a symbol of luck, fate, and fortune, worth over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Many people confuse this coin with the 1981 S-proof penny, which was intentionally made at the San Francisco Mint with a small S below Lincoln's shoulder. The valuable one we're talking about today? No mint mark at all. It came from Philadelphia, where no mint mark was used, but with proof-like qualities that shouldn't exist on a circulation strike. That's the key. The missing mint mark doesn't make it rare by itself. What makes it valuable is the way it was made. The sharp Liberty, the crisp 1981, the deep mirror finish. These tiny details are why it's worth millions, and most people miss them, but collectors also look for other signs. The rim of the coin should be slightly thicker and more defined, a characteristic of proof dies. The strike should be exceptionally bold. Every line in Lincoln's coat and beard must be visible. And the surfaces? They should shine like glass under direct light, not dull like ordinary circulation coins. Only a few examples have been graded by professional services, but those that have reached the highest levels, mint state perfection, are commanding staggering prices. Some dealers predict that if another pristine example surfaces, it could break the current record and become the first modern penny to surpass $2 million. Even the experts can't agree. But one thing's for sure, this coin exists. It's out there. And for every collector, it's become the ultimate dream, a treasure hiding in plain sight. Think about that the next time you get change at a grocery store, or when you empty your pockets at night. One of those dull old pennies could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Some say lightning never strikes twice. But in the coin world, it just might. After all, nobody believed a 1943 copper penny could exist until one showed up and sold for millions. Nobody thought a 1981 penny could be worth more than a car, a house, or a lifetime of savings. But here we are. Dealers are still hunting, collectors are still searching, and every new discovery sends shockwaves through the community. The question is, will the next $1 million penny come from your pocket? So how can you tell if you have one of these extraordinary 1981 no-mint mark pennies? Start by checking the date, 1981. Then look for that missing mint mark beneath the date. It should be blank. Next, examine the surface. If it looks proof-like, glossy, deeply mirrored, and flawless, you might just have something special. Compare it under a bright light with an ordinary penny. The difference is striking. The rare ones almost glow. And if you're unsure, have it graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. That simple step could turn a penny into a paycheck, or into a $1 million fortune. Remember, in the world of coin collecting, every small detail tells a story. And sometimes, those tiny imperfections, those overlooked moments in history, become priceless treasures. So before you spend that old penny, take a closer look. It might not just be worth 1 cent. It might be the same kind of coin that turned one collector's luck into a $1 million miracle. Yes, a simple, everyday 1990 Lincoln penny. The same kind you might have right now in your kitchen drawer, your car's cup holder, or even lying on the ground outside a grocery store. But here's the twist. This little coin carries one of the most mysterious and valuable minting stories in modern coin history. Collectors call it the hidden Denver miracle. And once you hear what makes it special, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. It all began in 1990, a year that seemed ordinary for the U.S. Mint. Billions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the Denver presses. Copper-plated zinc, small and unassuming, yet somewhere in that ocean of coins, a few were struck with something so rare, so precise, that decades later they would send shockwaves through the numismatic world. At first glance, the 1990 looks like any other Lincoln cent. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, the Denver D mint mark just below the date. But one small detail, almost invisible to the naked eye, separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It's not just a mistake. It's a mystery. One collector, a man from Colorado, discovered it by accident while sorting through his late father's coin jars. He noticed something about the date, something strange about the way it sat on the coin's surface. The 0 in 1990 had an unusual curve, slightly doubled, a rare die variation created during minting. At first, he thought it was damage. But under magnification, his heart skipped a beat. He had just uncovered one of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever made, a 1990 double die obverse with near-perfect strike, luster, and color. When this coin later crossed the auction block, the crowd fell silent. Every serious dealer knew what was about to happen. The bidding started high and climbed faster than anyone expected. Within minutes, it hit 6 figures. Then 7. When the hammer finally dropped, the coin had sold for over $1.5 million. Just the doubling. It's the perfection. Minted during a transition period when new engraving technology was being tested, a few Denver dies were slightly misaligned during preparation. This created microscopic doubling in Lincoln's date and lettering, an error so subtle, even experienced collectors missed it. Only a handful are known to exist. And each one that surfaces sets off a frenzy in the coin market. Dealers rush to authenticate them. Collectors line up to bid. And every new discovery brings fresh hope to anyone still checking their change. Another coin surfaced. Identical date, same doubling, but this time with a slightly off-center strike. It was graded at a near-perfect MS69 read by PCGS. Experts couldn't believe their eyes. They called it a 1 in a billion error. This second discovery confirmed that the original wasn't just a fluke, it was a minting mystery. That question still hangs in the air today. Because even after 35 years, the 1990 Lincoln penny continues to surprise collectors. Some believe a small batch of misaligned dies produced just a few dozen of these coins before being replaced. Others think the number could be smaller, fewer than 10 surviving examples. Imagine that. 10 coins out of billions, each worth a fortune, and the story only gets stranger. Some experts claim that a handful of 1990 pennies were struck using leftover proof dies intended for high-quality collector coins from the San Francisco Mint. That's right, a Denver penny struck with proof dies. That hybrid mistake could explain the unusually sharp design and mirror-like fields found on a few of these million-dollar coins. Dealers describe these pieces as ghost proofs, a whisper of perfection hidden in a sea of ordinary coins. Collectors were stunned when the first proof die example was confirmed. Its surfaces gleamed under magnification, showing clear doubling in the date and mint mark area. For many in the numismatic community, it was the kind of discovery that only happens once in a lifetime. Look for a sharp, crisp D mint mark just below the date. Under magnification, check for doubling, especially on the 1, the 9, and the inner curve of the 0. On some examples, the doubling is strongest in Liberty and In God We Trust. Next, check the surface. If the coin has a mirror-like finish, unusually clean edges, or sharper than normal details in Lincoln's hair and coat, you may have one struck from a proof die. Weight also matters. Regular 1990 pennies weigh about 2.5 grams, but a few rare ones have shown slight variations, often due to minor planchet differences. Even that small detail can mean a lot. And finally, condition is everything. Coins with full red luster and minimal wear command astronomical prices. That's what pushed the record-breaking penny past the $1 million mark. Just imagine, a coin most people spent without a second thought. A penny that could change someone's life overnight. Every collector dreams of that moment, the one when a forgotten coin turns out to be worth more than a house. When decades of patience, curiosity, and luck come together in one extraordinary discovery, the 1990 Lincoln penny has become that dream come true. A quiet reminder that history, luck, and precision can collide in the smallest of places, even in the palm of your hand. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or count the change on your dresser, look closely. Check every 1990 because one of them might not be just a penny, it might be $1 million miracle. The person who found the last one wasn't a professional dealer. He was just someone who decided to look twice. It looks ordinary, brown copper tone, the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, a date you've seen 1,000 times before. But what lies beneath this simple coin's surface is a story of minting mystery, collector obsession, and one of the most unexpected paydays in modern numismatic history. In 1984, millions of Lincoln cents rolled off the presses of the Philadelphia Mint. It was an ordinary production year, nothing unusual, or so everyone thought. But somewhere, among the endless sea of freshly minted pennies, a handful came out different. Flawed. Rare. And priceless. One of these coins would go on to spark a firestorm in the coin collecting world decades later. A man in Pennsylvania, sorting through pocket change, spotted something strange. Lincoln's face, his eye, didn't look right. There was something off, almost as if Lincoln had a second eyelid, a faint shadow that didn't belong. Intrigued, he pulled out a magnifying glass, and what he saw made his heart race. It wasn't a trick of light. It was real. Lincoln's eye was doubled. He had stumbled upon one of the rarest minting mistakes in U.S. history. The 1984 double-die Lincoln cent, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which bears no mint mark. And this subtle error would make that single penny worth a fortune. Collectors call it the double-eye penny. On Lincoln's portrait, a clear second outline of the eye appears just below the original one, caused by a misalignment in the die during production. It's a tiny flaw, invisible to most people, but to those who know what to look for, it's $1 million sign. When word of this discovery spread, dealers and collectors scrambled to find one of their own. Coin shops were flooded with people carrying jars of change, hoping to uncover this elusive error. Some found them in circulation. Others pulled them from old rolls they'd forgotten in drawers for decades. And then, one day, one of these 1984 no-mint mark pennies, in pristine mint state condition, crossed the auction block, and it sold for an unbelievable $1.6 million. The news rippled through the hobby like a lightning bolt. A coin struck from copper and worth 1 cent had turned into a millionaire maker. Collectors were stunned. Auction houses were buzzing. Everyone wanted to know, how could something this small, this ordinary, become worth more than a luxury home? The answer lies in how rare perfection, or imperfection, can be. You see, during the 1980s, the U.S. Mint was transitioning between die-making techniques. Errors like this doubled die were supposed to be nearly impossible by then. Yet somehow, one die escaped detection. It struck an unknown number of coins, and those few slipped quietly into circulation. Years later, only a handful have surfaced in high-grade condition, coins that escaped the wear and tear of pocket use. Those survivors are now the treasures every collector dreams of finding. Not every 1984 penny with a strange look is valuable. Many people confuse worn coins, machine doubling, or damage with the real doubled die. That's where expertise and sharp eyes make all the difference. The genuine 1984 doubled die cent has a bold, distinct doubling on Lincoln's right eye. It almost looks like a faint ghostly second eye. Sometimes, light work can make it subtle, but under magnification, it's unmistakable. Dealers know that detail instantly. It's the key to unlocking a life-changing discovery. Imagine this: you're at your kitchen table, rolling up change, and you spot a 1984 penny. You glance at Lincoln's eye, and there it is, that second shadow staring back at you. Your heart skips a beat. That's exactly how most discoveries begin: by accident, by curiosity, by someone taking just a little longer to look, and for some, that moment changed everything. One man's find in an old coffee can of coins turned into a six-figure payday at auction. Another collector's near-perfect specimen fetched hundreds of thousands. Each new discovery reignited the hunt, and with every sale, the legend of the 1984 no-mint mark penny grew bigger. But what truly makes this coin story so captivating is its unpredictability. Unlike the famous 1909 SVDB or 1955 double die, the 1984 no-mint mark error doesn't announce itself with bold letters or obvious marks. It hides in plain sight. It's the penny no one notices, until it's too late. Collectors often call it the sleeper coin. The one that can turn up anywhere: a bankroll, a tip jar, a pocket of forgotten jeans. Thousands of these pennies may have been spent, lost, or even destroyed before anyone realized their worth. Just imagine how many slipped through hands unnoticed, how many million-dollar miracles were tossed into vending machines, dropped in parking lots, or thrown away. And that's what makes today's collectors more determined than ever. Every time a 1984 penny crosses their path, they pause, they check, they hope. Because somewhere out there, maybe still waiting in circulation, is another perfect double die cent waiting to be found. Now, let's talk about how you can identify one. Because yes, you could find one too. Start with the date, 1984. There should be no mint mark beneath it, meaning it was made in Philadelphia. Then, under good lighting or magnification, study Lincoln's right eye. If you see a distinct second eyelid or doubling below the eye, clear and separate, that's your sign. But don't stop there. The genuine examples often show subtle doubling around Lincoln's lips and chin as well, though the eye is always the strongest clue. If you suspect you've found one, never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, keep it safe in a protective sleeve or holder and take it to a trusted coin dealer or grading service. Because if it's the real thing, and it's in high grade, you might just be holding a ticket to a life-changing payday. The 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is living proof that hidden treasures still exist, not buried deep in the ground, but right in your pocket. Every collector dreams of that one moment. The discovery that changes everything. For some, that moment came from this humble coin. And the next time you sort through your change, remember this story. Because one ordinary-looking penny from 1984, with a secret in its design, could be the one that turns your world upside down. But it turned out to be worth over $1.7 million. A simple, ordinary-looking 1972 penny, with no mint mark, hiding a secret so powerful it stunned the entire coin world. For decades, collectors thought they'd seen every valuable Lincoln cent ever made. But this one, this quiet, unassuming coin from the early 70s, broke every expectation. It wasn't made of silver, gold, or anything exotic, yet its mystery lay deep in the tiniest details, hidden in plain sight. The story begins in 1972, a time when America was changing fast. The Vietnam War was raging, Nixon was president, and pennies were still made of solid copper. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 2.9 billion Lincoln cents that year, a staggering number. Most ended up in pockets, jars, and dusty drawers. But out of those billions, a few carried a shocking secret. No one knew it then, but a minting error had occurred, a dramatic, almost ghostly mistake that slipped past the eyes of inspectors. It wasn't the kind of error you could see from across the room. It required a closer look, a deep, focused gaze under the right light. That's when the truth revealed itself. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, something looked off. His image was sharp, but the letters around him shimmered strangely. "In God We Trust" seemed to jump out twice. The word "Liberty" looked doubled. And the date, 1972, seemed to have a faint echo. This wasn't your eyes playing tricks. This was a genuine, full double-die obverse. Collectors call it the 1972 double-die no-mint mark Lincoln cent, one of the most spectacular minting errors in U.S. history. Each doubling happened when the die, the metal stamp used to strike the coin, received a misaligned impression. The result was a coin that looked normal to most people, but to experts, it was a masterpiece of mistake. When the first one surfaced, the coin world went silent. At first, many didn't believe it. How could something as common as a penny from 1972 be worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even, as we now know, millions? But when PCGS authenticated the variety and collectors started fighting over ownership, everything changed. One of these rare 1972 no-mint mark double-die pennies sold at auction for well over $100,000 in pristine condition. And the finest examples, those with mirror-like luster and perfect surfaces, have since crossed the unimaginable threshold. Recent private sales have pushed top-graded examples toward the $1 million mark, and now, experts say that a perfect, museum-grade piece could fetch as much as $1.7 million. Many of these coins were never pulled from circulation. That means they're still out there. In change jars, coffee cans, forgotten drawers. Some even hiding in your pocket change, waiting to be rediscovered. One man in Illinois found his 1972 double-die penny while going through his late father's coin collection. He thought it was just sentimental, until he noticed something strange about the date. He sent it in for grading. Weeks later, he got the call. His coin had been verified, and valued at over $500,000. He said he couldn't breathe when he heard the number. But that's just one story. Others have surfaced across the country, from estate sales, flea markets, and even random pocket finds. The lesson? Every 1972 penny deserves a second look. It's the precision of the error. There are actually multiple varieties of the 1972 double die, but only one main version has that unmistakable, bold doubling that collectors crave. You'll see it most clearly in God We Trust, Liberty, and the date, 1972. If the doubling is faint or only on the numbers, it's likely a less valuable variation, worth maybe a few dollars. But if the letters look like they've been struck twice, clear and strong, that's when you might be holding a fortune. Dealers have described finding one as a lightning strike moment. One expert even said, "You can feel it in your hands, the weight of history, the thrill of luck, and the shock that something so small could be worth $1 million. Now imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of change from the 70s, maybe pennies that belonged to your parents or grandparents. You pick up one that looks a bit sharper than the rest. You tilt it under the light. And then you see it, the doubling on the date. Your heart races. But before you rush to sell, here's what you need to know. Condition matters a lot. A worn example with scratches or dull surfaces might fetch a few $100s. But a mint state, bright red 1972 double die. That's where the value skyrockets into the hundreds of thousands. And possibly, for the right coin, the $1 million range. Start by looking with a simple magnifying glass. 10x magnification works well. Focus on the words, Liberty and In God We Trust. The doubling should look thick, bold, and unmistakable. Not blurry, not shadowed, but like two clean impressions side by side. If you spot that, don't clean the coin, don't handle it with your fingers. Put it in a plastic holder immediately and contact a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because every year, more of these treasures are found, and every one adds to the legend of the 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin that shouldn't have been worth more than a cent, but has changed lives. Collectors say that this penny represents something more than money. It's a reminder that even in the smallest, most ordinary things, something extraordinary can be hidden. A twist of fate. A human error. A glint of copper that turned into $1 million miracle. But when one sharp-eyed collector spotted it, everything changed. The 1969 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary-looking, most people would never give it a second glance, turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $1.8 million. That's right. A single penny. Worth nearly $2 million. It's one of the most mysterious stories in American coin history. A tale of error, chance, and an unbelievable stroke of luck that turned pocket change into a millionaire's dream. But to understand how this happened, we need to go back to the late 1960s, when something unusual began to unfold inside the U.S. Mint. The year was 1969. The Vietnam War was raging, man had just landed on the moon, and millions of Americans carried the humble Lincoln cent in their pockets. But at the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong, something that would go unnoticed for decades. A batch of pennies was struck with a small but critical mistake that no one caught at the time. And that mistake would later make them some of the most valuable coins in existence. One collector described his find like this. It looked like any other penny, dull, brown, worn from years of use. But under the magnifying glass, it came alive. What he saw would send shockwaves through the numismatic world. The 1969 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is famous for one powerful reason: a striking and unmistakable doubling on the obverse, or front side, of the coin. When you look closely at the word Liberty, and even more clearly at the phrase In God We Trust, the letters appear doubled, as if the image had been printed twice. The date, 1969, itself shows the same doubling effect. In 1969, the Mint in Philadelphia produced coins without a mint mark. So, at first glance, these coins didn't seem unusual at all. But what the Mint didn't realize was that one of their master hubs, the steel dies used to strike the pennies, had been improperly engraved. That small mechanical error created a double image on thousands of coins. Most of them were melted down or lost to circulation, but a few survived. And those survivors became legends. Now, here's where the story takes a shocking turn. When collectors first started finding these double-dyed pennies in the early 1970s, the U.S. Secret Service stepped in. They believed the coins were counterfeits. For a short time, owning one could actually get you in trouble. Imagine that, $1 million coin, and you were told to turn it in, but after careful study, the Mint confirmed it. The coins were genuine. Real U.S. Mint errors, born from a once-in-a-lifetime mechanical mishap. And once that news broke, the value exploded. One lucky collector, after years of quietly building his Lincoln cent set, brought a worn-looking 1969 penny to a grading service. When experts placed it under magnification, their jaws dropped. It wasn't just a double die, it was one of the strongest, clearest, and rarest examples ever seen. The coin was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold at auction for more than $1.80 million. Think about that for a moment. A single cent, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the ground, transformed into a small fortune. One coin, one tiny detail, one moment of history frozen in copper. dealers began searching every roll of 1969 pennies they could find. Collectors across America started pulling out old jars of change from the attic. Everyone wanted to know, could they have one too? This frenzy wasn't just about money. It was about the thrill of discovery. The idea that a normal person, not a professional dealer, not a museum curator, could uncover something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. This coin isn't just valuable because it's old. It's valuable because it's rare. Experts estimate fewer than 100 authentic 1969 no-mint marked double-die obverse pennies exist today. Some say the real number might be closer to 40. Every one of them is unique, and every one tells a story of minting history gone beautifully wrong. But what makes this coin even more fascinating is how subtle the clues are. You could easily miss them if you don't know what to look for. That's why even after all these years, people are still discovering them. Start by checking any 1969 penny that has no mint mark under strong light or magnification. Look first at the words, "In God We Trust." On the genuine double die, each letter will appear clearly doubled, not blurry, not shadowed, but sharply separated. The same goes for Liberty and the date. 1969. The doubling should look as if it was struck twice, perfectly aligned but distinctly doubled. Be careful, though, there are many counterfeits out there. Machine doubling, the kind of minor distortion that happens from loose striking pressure, is common and worthless. The real double die has depth, clarity, and strength that even beginners can spot once they know the difference. And here's a secret tip from professional graders: look at Lincoln's eye. On genuine doubled dies, even his eyelid appears doubled, a small but unmistakable sign of authenticity. Collectors who know this trick have found treasures in places no one thought to look. From old coin jars to bank rolls, these rare pieces of minting history still surface from time to time. Imagine that, you're rolling your spare change, and there it is. A copper penny from 1969, no mint mark, and when you tilt it in the light, you see the doubling. Your heart stops. You know exactly what it means. Because for those who know the story, that small, double detail represents $1 million miracle, a reminder that fortune doesn't always come from luck. Sometimes it comes from knowing what to look for, and that's what makes this story so powerful. Somewhere out there, tucked inside a forgotten coin jar, another one of these rare 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies could still be waiting to be found. It could be sitting in your kitchen drawer, your piggy bank, your glove compartment, just waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice it. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for over $1.8 million. Dealers called it the discovery of a lifetime. And yet, every year, new stories emerge of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins. So the next time you hold a 1969 penny in your hand, don't just glance at it. Look closer. Study it. Because this coin, this small piece of American history, has proven that even something worth 1 cent can hold a secret worth $1 million. But when one collector looked closer at the date, 2015, and the tiny D mint mark below it, he realized he was holding something truly unbelievable. What appeared to be an ordinary 2015 D Lincoln penny turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime find, a penny that could be worth up to $1 million. Most people would never look twice at a 2015 D penny. It's modern, shiny, and common, right? Billions were struck at the Denver Mint. But hidden among them are a few with errors so rare that even seasoned collectors didn't believe they existed at first. One of these mistakes turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into $1 million mystery. A coin roll hunter in Colorado was going through a box of pennies from his local bank, something he'd done hundreds of times before. He wasn't expecting anything special. But as the coins clinked together, one penny stood out. Its surface shimmered differently, its details sharper than the rest. And then, he noticed something unusual, a faint doubling around Lincoln's eye and the date. At first, he thought it was just his imagination or maybe a reflection. But as he tilted the coin under the light, the doubling became undeniable. This wasn't just any minting flaw. This was what experts call a double die obverse, one of the most dramatic and valuable errors in modern minting history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When he sent it for professional grading, experts confirmed it was an authentic 2015 D double die, one of only a handful ever documented. Its sharp details, perfect mint luster, and undeniable error placed it among the rarest Lincoln cents ever discovered. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. A modern penny, from 2015, being worth over $1 million? It sounded impossible. But the proof was in the metal itself. This coin's value didn't come from age or composition, but from rarity and perfection. Only a few escaped the mint's strict inspection process before the error was caught. These lucky survivors carry a hidden mark that's nearly invisible to the untrained eye. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The story spread like wildfire through coin forums and collector groups. Suddenly, everyone was checking their 2015 pennies under magnifying glasses, hoping lightning would strike twice. But there's another twist. Not all valuable 2015 D pennies are double dies. Some of them have an entirely different kind of error, a die clash, where the coin's design was accidentally struck into the die itself before any blank coin was placed between the presses. This caused ghost-like images of Lincoln's portrait to appear faintly on the reverse side, creating a haunting and beautiful error. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Each one tells a different story, some from striking errors, others from die deterioration that left deep, mysterious lines across Lincoln's face or the lettering of "In God We Trust." These tiny details, invisible to most, are the reason these coins are worth so much money. And here's the part most people miss. Some of these rare 2015 D errors were found in ordinary circulation. Yes, inside pocket change, coin rolls, and gas station cash drawers. Imagine paying for coffee with a coin that could buy you a house. The Denver Mint that year had an unusual series of die replacements. Several production runs were rushed, leading to multiple reports of mechanical doubling and die wear. For every million ordinary coins struck, just a few came out with perfect, collectible grade errors. When one of these rare coins was auctioned, collectors battled for it, and the hammer finally fell close to $1 million. It was a modern-day gold rush, except the treasure wasn't hidden in a mountain, it was hidden in your change. Let that sink in. A coin that costs 1 cent to spend could be worth $1 million if you know what to look for. And that's exactly what makes this story so thrilling, because anyone could find one. Start by grabbing a magnifying glass and checking the date. Look closely at the 2, the 0, the 1, and especially the 5. On the double die variety, you'll see thick, shadow-like outlines that look like a second strike. Then move your attention to Lincoln's eye and the letters of Liberty. If they look slightly doubled or stretched, you might have found something incredible. Next, inspect the reverse side. Look for faint outlines of Lincoln's head or collar in places they shouldn't be. That could mean a die clash. Also, any strange metal ridges, cuds, or off-center strikes could mean your penny was born from a minting mishap. Condition matters too. A coin that's never been scratched, cleaned, or circulated could fetch an even higher price. Some pristine 2015 D specimens have been graded MS69, nearly flawless, and those are the coins that make headlines when they hit the auction block. But what happened next made this story even wilder. After the $1 million sale, counterfeiters tried to mimic the look of the rare 2015 D errors. Suddenly, coin graders were flooded with submissions, but only a select few turned out to be genuine. This only made the real ones even more desirable, driving their value up even higher. Collectors say holding one of these coins feels like holding lightning in your hand, the perfect blend of luck, history, and pure chance. Because unlike ancient coins that take centuries to appreciate, this one was minted just a few years ago. It proves that rare treasures can still be found in modern pocket change. So, next time you get a handful of pennies from the store, don't dismiss that shiny 2015 D. Look at it closely. Because if you catch the light just right, you might see that faint doubling, that tiny flaw that turns copper into gold. People across the country are discovering these modern rarities, one roll at a time. And every new find sparks a wave of excitement, reminding collectors that the next $1 million penny might already be out there, waiting in someone's drawer. The coin world never sleeps, and neither should your curiosity. Because history isn't just in the past, it's hiding in your change. And if you're lucky enough to find that rare 2015 D Lincoln penny with the right error, you could be holding your ticket to $1 million.